Welcome back to another night of KayBee Spot. Today or tonight, I have the pleasure of speaking with one of the first authors who welcomed me to the community, Douglas S. Pierce. He was the first one to submit a book for me to review, and it was a behemoth of a book. Um, so here we are. Thank you. How are you doing this evening?
Thank you, KB. I'm great. I love that you're reaching out to interview me tonight. I'm happy to be here. I'm glad to have a chance to chat with you in person. I'm
Yeah.
just excited.
Yeah, we've like been engaged on social media for the last year and a half, maybe two. And
Absolutely.
this is the first time we've actually had a conversation um kind of in person.
Right. Yeah. I've heard your voice a number of times on very via Messenger, and
Yeah.
um, yeah, we've supported each other on social media, various ways, sharing posts and commenting and liking each other's stuff, and I appreciate what you do. I love how you promote authors and support authors, and especially in the underrepresented Black community. I love what you're doing there.
Yeah. Which leads me into well first, let me see those books. So
Okay.
everybody can see the very first one that I read.
Oh, the
I think
okay.
it's Maiden Song.
Yeah, let me go grab that one real quick.
Okay.
It's just right here. This is the behemoth of the book, the Maiden Song,
It's like
and this was
600 pages roughly, something like
yeah
that.
about 800 pages.
Yeah, I
It
was like,
tested it tested the limits of Amazon, their ability to publish it.
yeah, it was, yeah, but it was a really good read though. I
Well,
love I love fantasy and paranormal, and that just kind of fed right into it. And I hadn't gotten a chance to read um a lot of paranormal when I started this because I just discovered, sad to say, I just discovered like street literature
mm,
and was like obsessed with it. And then that rolled into discovering this whole new group of uh, Black authors that I didn't even know existed. And so I had just become consumed with everything that Black authors were writing because I just didn't,
absolutely.
when I was growing up, we just didn't have a lot of representation. So I was reading a lot of historical fiction, a lot of fantasy, a lot of paranormal, but a lot of it wasn't written. And I can't really think of anything that was written by Black authors.
Right.
And so when you blessed me with that read, I was like, oh my God. And it's not
Well,
a
thank
quick read either. So yeah, it was.
no, it's not. I mean, I try to make it a smooth read, something that you can just get immerse yourself into, and I like the cliffhanger type stuff at the end of each chapter to kind of encourage you to stay up past your bedtime.
You did. You did. Yeah.
Uh, but one of the things, so that book I ended up splitting into two books because there was so much of how big it was, and so
Yeah.
I split it into the Hunted Maiden is the first two-thirds of the book,
Yeah.
and the Seedling Song, which is the last third of that book. And then I just recently published, well, last year, 2020, I guess, or 2019, no, 2020, I published Omega Rising, Agent Rusty Bones.
Yeah. Oh my God. That was such a fun character. Like, where did you come up with? How did that come about? Like, where did
That's funny because this was actually the very first book I ever wrote, and it started out. I was trying to get back into I've wanted to be a writer and author for most of my life,
yeah.
and in my I would say I was in my in my 30s. I was starting to do a blog. Blogging was just becoming popular,
Yeah.
and so I did this blog based on this undead character that I'd come up with. The FBI's first undead special agent,
Right.
and so
Crazy. Yeah.
um, I decided, so I blogged it and I invited some friends to participate and kind of created characters based off on those characters. So many of the characters in that book are based off of real people that, I just took some of their personality traits and kind of, amplified them in certain ways. And so they would comment as their characters in the blog entries. I'd tell a blog entry story, which at the beginning of each chapter, I do like a little blurb that's sort of like an entry from the blog that Agent Rusty Bones keeps. And, he's bemoaning the whole fact that he's undead and how he feels different and all that sort of stuff. And it just got so snarky and fun. And the comments from my other friends that were commenting on it as characters just kind of kept it rolling. And then it was when my daughter was in high school, so it was 10 years ago maybe, I decided I'm going to roll this into a book. And so I got enough material for 4 books probably for Agent Rusty Bones. And I'm working on book 2. So I just decided that I was going to put it to novel format, which was quite different than the blog format. And so then I went with a self-publisher called blurb.com, which was not a good idea. So the original cover was something my wife had made, some really cool art that she had made for Rusty Bones. But so through blurb.com, I didn't sell I never got a check from them from any sales. I had to buy books from them and sell them at, but their prices were very, very expensive, way higher than Amazon's. I mean, I was paying $14 or $15 for a book from them. And so I'd have to sell it for $20. And so I didn't sell very many. I didn't have any clue what I was doing as a self-made author or as a self-published author. So I set it aside for a while. And then more recently, when I put together the Maiden Song, I started delving again into, all right, well, how does this whole publishing thing work to be successful? And I saw that Amazon was, doing self-publishing. And so I kind of went into that. And so when I've successfully managed with the, splitting the Maiden Song into the 2 books, I said, let me go. My dad was ill. And so I said, let me go back and revisit the Rusty Bones book. Now that I know what I'm doing, let me republish it through Amazon and, get professional cover and professional editing done on it. And it was so much better book for all of that. And it's done so much better for it too, as well.
I'm glad you did that because it was such, like I said, it was such a fun book, and thinking, that was a fun character. He's undead. He's also working with the FBI.
Yeah. So and I can give you a couple of hints about book 2. He's going to visit Las Vegas. He's going to be wearing a costume that will be perfectly Vegas.
Yeah.
And
that could go anyway.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So things get wild in book 2. So
well, I can't wait to read that one. That's I loved book 1. I thought I liked the Maiden Song, and that was going to be my favorite book. But then you said, "Hey, I have Rusty," and I'm calling it Rusty Omega Rising. But then you introduced me to Rusty, and I was like, "Okay, I liked you." But I love Rusty.
Yeah, there you go.
Fun clarity.
There you go.
He was and it was complex too. But you made it, the complex. It was in a fun, light way, even though some of the topics were like serious.
Yeah, there's some dark. There's a lot of heavy topics in there. I kind of explore the whole idea of personhood, because here he is, acting in the world, but he's legally dead, and he's, so he has no rights. He can't vote. He can't, he does all these sorts of things. And should he be able to vote, or that sort of thing? But also, there's some other, the crimes that he's involved with in terms of, trying to find his killer is pretty dark. But there's a lot of humor to it and a lot of sarcasm. He throws out a lot of sarcasm to things.
I think that book would have such cultural significance too when it comes to voting and who is, I don't want to say, who's allowed to vote and who's seen, like which graphic is being seen. And in that book, it definitely addressed some of those things.
Right. Yeah. And there's also, I think there's a one of the things I was really proud of was the interaction I showed between a detective in Texas and the perpetrator who killed one of his friends, right? And an African American man who's, and I tried to show, he a hardened criminal trying to reform and end up getting drawn back into, getting some revenge on some people because of how he was done wrong. And so, I wanted to touch on some of those things, but and show it in a compassionate way, to show that.
I think you did it. I think you did it justice. There wasn't. I wouldn't have thought that you wrote it or could write it from that from that perspective that you wrote it in, being the character was an African American or Black man.
Right.
So how can you speak to his experience? But I think you did it in a way that was not just convincing, but sensitive to what he would go through if he were alive, or he's a Black man. So I think you did that in a sensitive way, and I think that it was well put together.
Well, thank you. Thank you for
really good complex character, but you told his story in a way that was compassionate, and I think it was real too. So you can always tell when somebody does. So when I read it, and you can always tell people
right.
who do the research and who are genuine when wanting to tell stories from a different ethnicity or different race or different gender. You can always tell when the research comes into play, and if you're genuine about wanting to tell those stories. So I appreciate that. I think it was well done.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that so much. I put a lot of effort into, I work in the city of Detroit. I've worked in Detroit for 20 some years, downtown Detroit. So, and it's a majority Black city, and a lot of my coworkers are African American, and a lot of the people that we deal with, are African from other parts of the world, from Africa or the Caribbean or Latin America. And so I get a lot of, I deal with people from all over the world, from different contexts, and I hear their stories, and it's something that, and I studied anthropology in college. Cultural anthropology was something I studied. And that teaches you to realize that every person's lived experience is valid. Yeah. And you can't, you've got to be careful in generalizations and on stereotypes. There are some times when stereotypes, that commonly seen stereotypes, reflect some sorts of reality, but not all the way, and there's always nuance to things, and things that we don't always necessarily understand. And so, and also I was fortunate enough to grow up with my mom had a best friend who was married to a Black man, and they had several children. Yeah. And I one of them was like a sister to me. We even like when her mom was babysitting us, there was a time when she and I were like 5 years old, and we were acting out, and we threatened to run away, and her mom handed us hobo sticks and a thing on the things and pushed us out to the front porch, turned the light off, and said, "All right, see ya." We were pounding to get back into the house as soon as possible. But Sean, she's like a sister to me, and so it's something that and she and I can always just joke around about stuff, but at the same time, obviously we knew that we had different lived experiences too, and it informed that. So, and one of the things that in my work, I'm a supervisor. And so I also am supervising people. And so as a first line supervisor, it's really important to get to know everybody on your team, and to have to approach any issues or problems with empathy and understanding.
Yeah.
And so, and that's a lot of listening to what's going on in their lives, a lot of trying to understand if they're having work issues, how is that playing out, and how is their home life maybe impacting their work, and trying to find solutions to those issues,
Just keeping the humanity in your position.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's all about dealing with people. Yeah. And people of any ethnicity, of any gender, and it's something that I'm always fascinated by people and what makes them act how they act. And that's kind of how I ended up becoming a writer, was because writers are always watching and
Very
listening and
curious.
observing.
Yeah, very curious. And that's one of
Absolutely.
the things I like about um, what you've been doing, because I've noticed the evolution of your platforms have
Mhm.
become not just entertainment in sharing your work, but you've done a really great job with educating and speaking out, not just to, like the racial tensions that we're experiencing or have always experienced, but you don't
Right.
shy away from those. Um,
No.
you don't shy away speaking up in the comments and, standing on your beliefs and um, offering support, whether it's through commenting or sharing information on your platform, cultural references, you're educating people, even becoming self-published authors. The amount of information that you provide for free that some people hoard is amazing to me,
Yeah.
because people hold on to that information that, if people really knew where to look, they could probably find it for free, but they
Right.
hold on to that as if that's going to make them invaluable, and it doesn't. So
And
I love that you're always sharing information with your audience.
well, thank you. I mean, for me, it's really important to. I mean, I struggled the first time I put out like the original Omega Rising,
Yeah.
and I knew nothing about. I mean, I'd actually been attempted at being a literary agent and such, to help my wife do some publishing and to help others. So I kind of learned through some of the publishing industry, by picking up books, reading about what literary agents do, reaching out to publishers and doing queries and those sorts of things. But I still knew nothing about the realities and the economics of self-publishing books. And so when it came down to my journey, I benefited greatly from the mentorship and guidance of authors like Stacy Rourke and Rue Volley, who are a couple of great indie authors. And so and Rue connected me with the gal who does Rebecca Poole, who does my formatting and my covers and such like that. So I'm always about sharing. I want to share my journey as an author, and I can do that and not be afraid of showing my mistakes, because I think we all learn some of the most valuable lessons of the mistakes we make.
Yes.
They're also kind of costly at times.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's, if I can help somebody to publish their books, get their dreams out in a way that's professional and polished, to help to better that whole reputation of indie authors, right? There's such a reputation for indie authors that, they don't get edited, their books aren't edited, their covers are amateurish,
Yeah.
And they couldn't get published in the traditional publishing industry,
Right. And they
which is not the case.
start. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes they just don't know where to go to get professional editing, or they think it's way too expensive for them. But really, there are great editors out there who work for really reasonable rates and are willing to work with authors and help them to polish their books.
Yeah.
There are cover designers and who know the industry, who do traditionally publish, but also they do help self-publish people. And so it's really important for me to share that knowledge as I can. And I like to put the real numbers behind, because you can get the gloss. You can look at somebody's social media, and you know how we all curate our social media experience, right?
Yes.
You're not going to show the mess in the room. You're going to show the corner that you cleaned up real nice before
like
you.
The mess I have behind.
Yeah, you should see this room. I got all sorts of stuff sitting around. But
yes, I'm like, there's boxes of books that I haven't put up. Every now and again, I share my messy bookshelf, but outside of camera view, hot mess over here.
Absolutely, I know that feeling all too well. I had to boot the dogs out of the room. I had to, but yeah, so I believe, when people are looking at whether they should self-publish or not, they're always or tend to be looking at other self-published authors, and then they're seeing the glossy, smooth stuff that they're preparing for other people to consume. So it's curated, it's done to the best possible that they can.
Yeah.
and they don't share their struggles, or they don't share the real economics of, okay, this is how much it might cost you to get a book professionally published, and so I try to share those and provide real numbers. And so, like this past weekend, I was at a book event. I sold like 7 books, maybe earned $100. It cost $100 to get the table for that event, right?
Yeah.
So it feels good to sell $100 worth of books,
Yeah.
but at the same time,
Yeah. And
you're not making any real profit at it. So
that, and then the other benefit that you could look at is you potentially, increased your brand awareness and awareness
oh yeah,
of books and stuff by participating in those kind of events, because you don't know who you reached that didn't necessarily show up, but someone who bought your book or took a picture or something, said, oh, who's that guy? What is the Faye?
exactly.
Which brings me to one of the other things I love about your page is that I'm always getting treated to pictures of Faye and like
Yes.
you or someone else. And I'm like, who's doing that? Like for you? I noticed the same ladies, but they do like really cute Faye photos for you.
Right. Well, some of it is art. I mean, many of them are artists that I've commissioned, sets from, where they do self-portrait sets. And there's some of those though that I've taken the photos myself, because I'm an amateur photographer.
Okay.
And so, very amateur, but at the same time, I've had the good fortune to work with some really talented people who guided me. And matter of fact, like the cover models for the Maiden song were people I got to know. That's Bunny Luna and their husband at the time, Antisocial Disposition, which were models that I got to know through Instagram. And so I reached out to them, would you guys do a cover shoot for me? And the photographer who did Michael O'Neill, has this really awesome full spectrum infrared photography that he does. And so it gives the whole picture a Faye feel to it, like you're looking at reality in a different way.
He did a
And
great
so,
cover. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. He did
So,
a great job with that.
yeah. And so when I reached out to him to do that, cover shoot, and Bunny and Antisocial Disposition agreed, and Michael agreed, and it was an awesome experience. I learned a lot from that, and that got me interested. Well, how difficult is it to take some photos myself? And so, Bunny, Luna, following them really helped me in that whole process.
Yeah.
I became friends with them, and had an opportunity to attend an event with them in person, and I took my first photos of models at that time.
Nice.
And so it was really amazing. And so, yeah, I like having for me, I'm a very visual person. So having images of Faye in my feed really just kind of helps to inspire me to keep doing that.
Nice. I love it.
And I'm always looking to increase the diversity of my Faye models too, because I want people of all colors, all races and ethnicities to be able to see we all have Faye magic inside of us.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. It's true. Well, let me know the next time you are looking for models. I'm not going to sign up, but
okay.
I will post about it for you.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Yeah. I won't sign up yet.
I've even had a couple of fellow authors do modeling for me. Barbara Lally of the Trickster Diaries.
Okay.
And
I read that too. Yeah.
Yeah, and Charlotte Brewster. She's a children's author, African American gal that's out on the East Coast, and she did some great photos for me too. I need to post more of hers. So
yeah, because I don't know if I've seen hers.
Okay, I'll send you a couple through DM and show you.
Good. So one of the things I like to ask people is, and it's usually my last question, but it just kind of feels right now because I feel like your answer might be yes, or if not yes, you're damn close to it.
All right.
Do you feel like you're actively sitting in your purpose?
I do actually. And that is before I was published, or when I was in the process of writing the Maiden song, I was in a coaching session with, through my employment, they offered some coaching.
Mhm.
and I was at a higher level within the organization than I am now. And through that coaching, I realized I don't really want to rise in the organization that I'm in. I
Mhm.
really want to be, go back as a first line supervisor and work with people.
Mhm.
And I also wanted to focus on having time to write and to publish stories,
Right.
because I feel like I'm a storyteller,
Yes.
somebody who has a lot of stories to tell, and I want to get those out. And so, yes, I purposely stepped back from a level of management in my organization back down to a first line supervisor so that I could pursue my passion in
Yeah.
writing. Because as a first line supervisor, I just deal with the day to day things going on. And I didn't have to worry about long term planning and other types of things that were distracting me from
Bureaucracy.
yes, that were distracting me from being able to write. And so I said, yep. So the coaching really helped me to step back into that role of a first line supervisor,
Yeah.
which I enjoy, I love, and into the ability to have weekends back and to have evenings back so that I could
Yeah.
worry about writing and publishing books. So
Um, I like that. That's good. I like that. Like I said, I felt like it was going to be yes, because I've noticed the way, like I said, in the last year or so, the evolution of your platform. It's like I'm here, I'm educating, I'll entertain you some, but I want to make sure that you're educated. And I think new authors, it's definitely a good look for them to follow your page, because like I said, there's so much educational um, information that you're sharing, and so I just think it's a really good resource for them to have.
well,
Um,
thank you.
you're welcome. Um, has the current climate, racial climate, economic climate, political climate,
Mhm.
has it affected your creativity? And if yes, has it been a positive or negative thing?
Yes, I would certainly, certainly and in some ways it's helped my creativity, and in some ways it's hurt, I think. When COVID first hit, was when I had and my dad fell ill with cancer that was getting worse a few months um, before COVID actually hit us. And he passed away right around the time when, he passed away in February of 2020.
Oh, sorry.
And I was using the time that I was using to take care of him to do the edit, to focus on editing Omega Rising and get that published. And so I definitely have to think that um, that certainly helped. And plus the political climate at the time with the prior administration
Mhm.
and the tensions that were being created with the protests and the Black Lives Matter and the way in which things were happening, it really sparked with it. I knew I addressed some types of those things in that book, and I remember I'd written it 10, 15 years ago, and I wanted to freshen it up and bring it back into this era a little bit, but still keep it as an entertaining story. So yes, that got my creativity going back to getting that book published. But I have to say, if somebody had told me that we'd have a year and a half or more of mostly teleworking and not so much going into the office, and oh boy, I'm going to be able to do so much writing, so I'll be so creative.
Yeah.
No, it has been a struggle to write on a regular basis, and I'm dealing with that struggle still even now. One of the things I did when I was struggling, that I reached the artist Anna Hume that does the dolls, my Rusty Bones doll and my Seldy and Rondell dolls. She was very good at doing art on a page, and so it inspired me to work with her in creating Seldy's Circus Adventures. And so this was a way for me to get a book out this year while I'm stuck on the main story elements, right?
Yeah.
This was something, and what I did with it, something unique. When I was looking at coloring books, I saw that most coloring books just have the images to draw or color on, right? That I wanted a coloring book that told a story as well. And so each page, when you look at the coloring book, there's the coloring page, and then there's a story element where Seldy is talking about her life in the circus when she, so Seldy is the main character, one of the main characters of the Maiden song, when you meet her at the beginning of the Maiden song, or the Hunted Maiden, she has just been kidnapped essentially from her home in the circus. And so Anna has this really cool style of art that she does with children's drawings and stuff like that. And she has really loved Seldy as a character and the idea of circus imagery.
Yeah.
And I thought that's great to color in. And also I can tell the story of her life in the circus in a way that's fun. So
I like that. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. I need to get that coloring book for myself.
all right, well,
Because it may just be, I mean, it's probably marketed for children, but we adults, I know I love a good adult coloring book because you don't have to learn anything necessarily, but it's a really good distraction to entertain yourself.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I purposely titled it Seldy Circus Adventures, a Seeds of Hope coloring book for all ages, because yes, it's targeted mostly to kids, and the story is more about kids, but she was adopted, so there's issues of idea of being adopted and still experiencing that kind of love and of inclusion in a circus. And she's different from the rest of the people in the circus. She's got the pointed ears,
and you're hitting on another socially relevant topic of adoption.
absolutely.
I love yeah.
So yeah, definitely. I've got it available on my website. So and I'd be happy to send you a copy. So
I have to go there. That way when I get it, I can share it and hide it from the kids around here. So what else can we expect from you in 2022? Like, what does that look like for you?
Well, I'm starting to focus my efforts on getting book 2 of Rusty's saga done. I want to get that done. I'm hoping to get that book published in 2022. Okay. I'm still working also on book 3 of the Seeds of Hope series, The Guardian's Quest. I'm about 6 chapters in, but it's been slow going. George R.R. Martin slow going in terms of. So I need to step up the pace and beat George to getting the next book out of that series.
Which I don't think will be hard.
Right. I mean, his is pretty slow. I mean,
I kept looking. I was like, okay, is book 6 done?
I know.
No, maybe this year. And that was 7-8 years ago, I think.
I know.
Yeah.
They did the whole series on HBO before.
And he hadn't even finished the book series.
They did 8 seasons on HBO and he still didn't publish a book.
Right. So. Unlike True Blood, that Game of Thrones pretty much stuck with the series. Then they didn't know how to, it showed 2 in the last season. They didn't know how
to. Absolutely.
Unlike True Blood, that after the first few episodes, it really just, I mean, that first season, it veered off from the series. Harris's series veered off from it. Some of the characters the names were the same, and then that was about it. Yeah,
that's about it. I found that out when I because I love the show True Blood, and I started reading her novels. And I was like, wait a minute, I don't recognize this storyline.
Yeah, no, and I'd always read the novels. We'll listen to the novels, and then when the show came out, I was like, oh my god, and I got excited, and then I was like, oh my god, this is not like the book. So sometimes it does not turn out better than the book, and sometimes it does. It's just the luck of the draw. Have you ever thought about getting one of your books turned into film or TV? Like, have you thought about a books to film project for any of yours?
I have thought about it, and I certainly would love to see like the Seeds of Hope and that series to be, adapted to a TV series or something like that. That would be amazing. I haven't taken any active steps to do that. I think I probably need to get further into the series before I could do that. I think there'd also be some challenges in terms of making that series, but that would be for the directors and the showrunners to worry about. But I'd love that, and I think Rusty Bones certainly has the potential to be.
That definitely does. It's right on Cinemax.
Right there, you go.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, that would be fun. And I would say that True Blood was that series of on HBO was an inspiration for me on the whole when I was blogging about Rusty Bones, that was, and the idea of creating, of using the real world, but to having these characters that are in the shadows be real vampires or werewolves and stuff like that. And so that whole idea, it kind of works with the Rusty Bones because there's casters who use magic and Haitian, voodoo guys and all these sorts of things going on, but it's in the real world, but it's all this shadowy stuff, and plus the magic allowed me to create Rusty Bones and make him, believable as okay, he can actually do these sorts of things and doesn't need to eat or drink and that sort of stuff.
Character to work with. There's a lot to work with that character. So.
Oh, absolutely, and you really develops in book 2, I think. So that's why, and book 3 of that series. So I have the material for several books, but I want to get the original trilogy out, which is Omega Rising, which is out, Omega Falling, which is book 2, and then Bones Wolf, which is book 3. And Bones Wolf, the original idea of it was there were in the ruins of 9/11 that there was a Grendel-like creature from Beowulf that was summoned sort of by the whole chaos of all the explosions and was killing things. And so he's got to go and Rusty Bones has got to go face Grendel and Grendel's mother. And so it was a whole take on the Beowulf saga with Rusty taking place in New York and Rusty Bones.
That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, that was fun.
Okay. That's good stuff to look forward to. Yes.
Well, thank you.
Potential TV show. I'm just going to.
There you go. Absolutely.
Potential TV show. So is there anything else that I need to know about you that my followers may want to know? We know you are an educational resource. We know you are an entertainment resource.
Sure.
I know you have, now we know you're a budding photographer.
Right.
What else? What else?
Well, I talk about it in my About the Author. I'm a husband, a father, a son. I'm all these things as well. I'm a veteran of the Desert Storm, Desert Shield, in the Gulf War. I've got 2 dogs, 2 Shiba Inus that you'll see make appearances in my feed as well. They're cute as a Dickens. I got a cute photo I took the other day of them sleeping on the bed together because they don't get along, as you can hear on occasion.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. He's a little through with her, that's for sure.
Yeah. So you have a cat in the mix too.
Yep, black cat named Harley. So
I like that.
Yeah, he's almost 15 years old now. So
he probably is not giving them any attention. Like, I'm over you two over there fussing and all that.
He sleeps in the bed with us every night and he cuddles up against me. So it's feel him purring and stuff. So that's fun. But I think that's pretty much who I am. I try to be an open book, but at the same time, I like to explore the world. I like to explore the world through people and their stories and try and incorporate them into interesting ways. And so, it's really, really important for me. There's an author I'm following that big time right now, Farida D. She's lives in the Middle East and she's very popular on she's very strong supporter of feminism and how how the patriarchy impacts the women and girls and so I'm really learning a lot from her, and I'm also trying to reflect that sort of thing in my writing as well, because I feel women and girls should have equal opportunities, and they can save themselves, they can save others, and that's a big thing for me.
I won't say anything about Texas tonight. I won't say anything about
well, that's
a conversation for drinks after you've had a few drinks, maybe, because it's
that's I don't envy you. I don't envy you dealing with that political climate down there. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
I know.
Well, I want to thank you so much for letting me intrude on your evening. This interview was a long time coming, no matter which platform it happened on, yours or mine, because we talked
Right.
about it before. So I appreciate it. I'm one up on you because I got you on mine first.
Yes, you did. I'll
I
get you back one of these times. So thank you so much, KayBee. It was a pleasure being here. I love talking with you, and I love the support that you give to all different kinds of authors, but especially the Black voices that need to be raised up. There's a whole array of different Black voices out there writing these cool stories
Yeah,
from the perspective that we all need to see more of.
I I agree. So, all right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in again. You will be able to purchase any of Mr. Pierce's books either by clicking the link in my bio or clicking the link below this video. Have a great evening, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you
Bye.
again.